beautiful day in the city of Lagos, and you're watching Meet the Boss, brought to you by ConnectNigeria.com. I still remain your humble host, William Tuzumba. And today we are in the business of cloud services. What am I talking about, you might be wondering? Well, sit back, relax. After the short commercial break, I shall be unveiling today's guest and why I use the term cloud services. You're watching Meet the Boss. We shall be right back after the short commercial break. Welcome back to the show Meet the Boss, brought to you by ConnectNigeria.com. Before that short commercial break, I did tell you that today we shall be talking about the business of cloud services. And my guest on the program today is the one and only Mr. Aderemi Adejumo, the Chief Technology Officer of Comercio. Sir, you're welcome to the program today.
Thank you very much.
And we're glad you finally have the opportunity to speak with us.
Thank you.
Good. Now, sir, usually when I start my program, I like the viewers, the audience, to know who the individual we'll have on the show is and the brand he or she represents. So let's start with you as a person. Who is Mr. Aderemi Adejumo?
Okay, my name is Aderemi Adejumo. I'm actually a graduate from City University, London, where I studied civil engineering. Okay. And I have nearly 30 years experience in technology. I didn't do much in civil engineering, but I moved straight into technology shortly after graduating. And I ran a computer company here in Nigeria for about 10 years. After that, I worked in the UK, in France, in Belgium, and in Switzerland. Worked for UBS in Switzerland. I worked for IBM and Carrefour in Belgium. And in the UK, I worked for Citibank for 5 years. I worked for Compaq and a couple of other companies like that. So you would say I've worked for quite a number of blue chip companies around Europe before I came back to Nigeria, where I worked for a short stint with Resourcery as the head of applications. And then I also worked in EcoBank as head of infrastructure. And also I worked as head of admin. And I left the bank in 2016.
Interesting. Very interesting portfolio, I must say. So it won't be out of order to say you have this wealth of global experience that you're channeling into your Nigerian experience now.
Exactly.
Aha,
yes.
Beautiful. Now let's gradually bring ourselves back to the brand today, Comercio. At what point did you join Comercio, and who is Comercio as a brand?
Okay, I left EcoBank in 2016, February to be exact. And I'd known Comercio. Comercio is an IT company, hardware and software, that's been going for about 20 years. And the CEO is Runke Adiegbe, and we've been friends for a while, and we talked about collaborating together and setting up an arm, which would basically be a cloud company, basically running infrastructure as a service, managed co-location company. So that's how Comercio Cloud was born shortly after I left the bank in February 2016, because we felt that there was a huge gap in the market. There wasn't a local company that was doing a local hosting at the enterprise level. And also we felt because of the economic challenges in the country, and one of the things I'd done I was in charge of admin in EcoBank for 2 years. And really the drive was, the aim we had was cutting down on cost. So that really made me focus on the fact that there was a gap in the market to provide a platform which was a cost-saving platform to move enterprises into something that would save them money but deliver the same services they were getting.
Okay. Now, can you tell us how acceptable this venture has been so far? What has been the general acceptance?
It's been an interesting journey, and I think like everything else, I believe that we're just at the cusp of that explosion. Because I think what you have is that people have been struggling under the economic sort of burden that they have, but they have not really focused on how do we solve it, especially from a technology point. If you go back to the fundamentals, people talk about technology as an enabler. Technology gives you advantages in your business and helps you in there. Now, a lot of times people just run away without looking at it because they think the cost is too high to really implement it in the way that it should be. But what we're trying to do is to evangelize, to say, look, you can achieve all you want and more by moving from a CapEx to an OpEx model where you're just paying for what you use, as opposed to, because the traditional model, what I what I call a capex model is the fact when you buy a machine, you're going to amortize it over 5 years. So really, you're paying today what you want to use over the next 5 years. If you move onto a cloud platform, you're only paying for what you're using for the next 1 month, which you can see clearly there's a huge cost difference in terms of what you're doing and a huge cost save to be had.
I know that one of the models of Comercio is to penetrate the SME sector, the SME industry here in Nigeria. First and foremost, how would you rate the SME industry in Nigeria, and what role do you think Comercio as a brand is getting itself prepared to contribute towards that sector?
The SME tends to be the largest portion of the sort of what I call the businesses in Nigeria. The other aspect of that is that because of our nature, that we are a commerce-based industry, a commerce-based population, sometimes people put it as basic as saying people need loans. But I think it's a lot more than the loans. They don't just need the loans, they need to have the know-how, they need to have the platform to carry out this business, and also because that's the nature, you find that it's cultural. We're happy to buy on that basis, the way we eat our food, the way we buy our clothes, the way we buy our things. We don't have the large malls you have in America. We don't have the sort of efficient supply chain systems they have there. So we are, our B2B and our B2C tends to be more rudimentary, and that lends itself to that smaller and the growth of SME.
Now, some have argued that cloud services are a bit pricey. And in line with what you just explained about the SME sector in Nigeria, how would you say Comercio as a brand is coming on board to tackle the issue of the pricey nature that some other brands have towards rendering the services of cloud infrastructure?
It's an interesting question, and I think I'd even expand your question in that why should people locally use a local-based cloud platform as opposed to a cloud platform abroad? But the advantage from our point of view is that we give you a stability because we're a local currency business. We give you better latency. Our latency is about 20% of what you get by trying to get onto Azure or Amazon. We also give you more of a bespoke service. The problem about it is that the 30% difference is due largely to our cost of power, and secondly due to the economy of scale. Where we are dealing with people in the tens and hundreds, they're dealing with people in the hundreds of thousands and millions. So with that, but they have a very automated system, so there's very little interaction, it's purely self-service, but it's large. And because of that, they're able to obtain, to get very, very good cost saves and very, very low price.
Well said, sir. Now, I still have some follow-up questions as regards to your role at Comercio here and also the Nigerian SME sector, especially concerning the government. But we shall do that after the short commercial break. Well, viewers, you're still watching the show Meet the Boss, brought to you by ConnectNigeria.com. And yes, my guest today is no other but Mr. Aderemi Adejumo, the Chief Technology Officer of Comercio. After the break, we shall come back to some more follow-up questions. Don't go nowhere. You're watching Meet the Boss, brought to you by ConnectNigeria.com. Welcome back to the show Meet the Boss, brought to you by ConnectNigeria.com. And I'm still your humble host, William Suzamba. Before the short commercial break, we were still talking to our guest today on the SME sector in Nigeria and also the role the government plays and the brand Comercio. So you're welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, we want to delve into your day-to-day role as a Chief Technology Officer of Comercio. What does that entail?
Okay, I would say that my role is generally to set the overall strategy from a technical point of view. That's what we're doing on the cloud platform, and also to guide the team on some of the key areas and also in creation of new products that we would be selling in addition to the basic products that we have. So that's what I do and the way my day goes from day to day.
Good. And would you say you have a good team that works with you? How would you rate your team?
I have a good team and I have an interesting team, and no 2 days are the same. So we, the work we do apart from that, we also train. So we're trying to train our team to get them up to scratch, because a lot of people who we've brought in have not worked in this sort of environment before. So that's part of the company's vision, is to train them up to have the skill to be able to manage the customers and be able to provide services and support for all the products that we sell.
Okay. Now, still on the government, not too long ago, there was a kind of communique especially from the federal arm of government, stating that hosting of Nigerian-owned datas should be more of a local thing than a foreign thing. I don't know if you followed that news trend.
Yeah,
recently.
I think there were.
How would you rate that?
I heard they were trying to create a data localization act or law or something. I agree with it, but I'm a bit cautious of it, because I believe that this sort of thing can occur naturally. It doesn't need sort of a government enforcement to happen, because as I've mentioned before, there are positives to local hosting, which should encourage people to host locally.
Yeah.
Just to recap on that, the lower latency, the bespoke nature of the business, and the fact that data localization just gives you more interaction with local businesses here. Now, if you look at it from a governmental and more the sort of from the legal standpoint, a great advantage is it means that in the event of a dispute or event of an issue, you will be governed by the Federal Republic of Nigerian law. If you sit on an Amazon or sit on or Azure or whatever, you're governed by the law of the residing country, which would be America, which in the event that something comes up, it will not be favorable to the local Nigerian entity that's hosted outside of the Nigerian jurisdiction.
Where would you like to see Comercio in the next 5 years?
Our aim, and it's part of our vision, and our vision is to be the leading public cloud platform in Nigeria and actually in West Africa. So in the next 5 years, we want to be relevant in the region, and we want to be one of the leading and the biggest cloud providing platform for our region. So that's our aim, and that's where we're pushing towards.
Good. Now, I want to believe that Mr. Adejumo is not just work. Because when someone sees your title, Chief Technology Officer, they will think this man is one geek that spends all his day and time doing technological stuff. How do you relax, sir?
Well, I'm an avid squash player, so I play squash Monday to Fridays. Every morning I play for about an hour, and I use that to keep fit, because I love sweet things, so I love my cakes and such likes. So in order to keep the sort of the girth down,
the excess cholesterol.
I burn it daily. So I think I fleet between the eating of the sweet things and exercising by playing squash. So, and I enjoy both in equal measure.
That's good. Now, so are you a book reading person?
I'm a huge book reading person.
Do you have any special books that you could easily recommend to any young entrepreneur out there or any aspiring business owner? The two books funny enough, are the ones in front of me. I'll recommend the Homo Deus, which is quite an interesting read. Okay.
And the other one, which I've really enjoyed, and I enjoy his books, are Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE. He always writes quite interesting, easy to follow, and it's also, I think, always quite an inspirational career to follow and to read. So those are two quick ones that come to mind that I think are really worth reading.
Good. So do you think it's something to encourage, especially young entrepreneurs? Would you encourage them to be book readers? And what's your take on mentorship, business mentorship especially?
I do quite a bit of business mentorship, and I think it's quite important, because I think it's important that those that are coming behind should not make the same mistakes as we've done. So whatever mistakes that I've made, I always feel it's quite important to share with them so that they avoid the mistakes and they have a greater chance to success of their business or their endeavors. From a reading point of view, I think it's so key, because really every scenario, every incident that happens has happened already, and you find that there's so much to derive from listening to people who have far more experience and been through that loop or been through that process. So you get so much out of it, and I really do enjoy reading and seeing what other people have done and how they've done it, and I gain inspiration, learn from it, and I find it quite a useful insight for me in my everyday life.
Good, good, sir. Now, on the final note, sir, say some words of encouragement to both the Nigerian populace, to the SME and young entrepreneurs out there. What final word of encouragement would you have to say for that?
I'd say we live in an interesting place, we live in interesting times. It can be extremely frustrating at times, but I do believe that we're on a journey and we will be surprised how we will build both the country and the people to be quite leaders in the world. I mean, it's not a mistake that we're the largest black African country. It's not a mistake that we have some of the brightest minds all over the world. We have some of the brightest people around. But I think it's just a question of all the different parts coming together and, you know, and just things falling into place, maybe by events or by circumstance. And I think people truly see the greatness of Nigeria and its people.
Well said, sir. Thank you very much for having us today, sir. And we're glad to have this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you for your time.
Good. Well, viewers, you've heard it all from Mr. Aderemi Adejumo, the Chief Technology Officer of Comercio. He shared some wonderful insight as to how the business of cloud services work and how it can benefit the Nigeria business environment, especially those in the SME sector. We've also heard about some of the wonderful things or some of the areas and ways the government from both the state and the federal level can help the SME industry. Remember, you can watch the full retake of this video on our website, www.connectnigeria.com, and you can always follow us on social media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Connect Nigeria. I still remain your host, William Suzumba, telling you to keep it locked until we come your way, same time. Bye, guys.
Looking for a business? Log on to connectnigeria.com.